Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to the Baal HaSulam's Matan Torah with commentary by Rebbe Avraham Morechai Gottlieb, who I'll be referring to as the Rebbe Shlita. We are in Revealing a Handbreadth and Concealing 2. Please give me a moment. I'm just going to pull up the live stream in case anyone has any questions and tunes in. So check the sound. Okay. I think that should be good. We're on page 50 at the bottom. The words of the Baal HaSulam. And this is what the sages intended in their phrase, quote, I reveal the handbreadth, and I will conceal too. Their intention was that a situation arose in which it became appropriate to reveal something that had not been imagined by those who lived prior to this situation. The single handbreadth refers to the category of concealment that can now be revealed, while the other two categories continue to be concealed. Beautiful. That's the whole notion of the title of this essay. This expression is their manner of indicating that something happened to remove one of the reasons for concealment. Either the unnecessary became necessary, or permission was granted from heaven, as I explained above. This is what is expressed in the saying, I revealed the handbreadth. I could be wrong, but I also had an idea regarding revealing a handbreadth and concealing two, in regards to our inner work and what's available for us to integrate and receive, and if we're capable of also sharing that wisdom and information of what is necessary to conceal. There is a maimar, there's an essay in Shamati, which is an amazing book, highly recommend. The Hebrew is certainly necessary, in my opinion, relative to the English translations that are available, specifically from the Arbeit Midrash, as it has commentary from the Rebbe Shita on the essays. The essays of Shamati are what the Rebbe Zitzal, Rebbe Baruch Shalom Ashlag, heard from his Holy Father, the Baal HaSulam. In his amazing mind, he was able to hear the lessons either on Shabbat or during the festivals, where he could not, by Jewish law, write, because it was a malacha. So he did his best to remember everything, and being in such a devekut, adhesion with his Holy Father in consciousness, heart and soul, soon as the day was over, either Shabbat or the Chag, pen to the paper, he wrote it down. And to read through it and see the insights and to comprehend how it was brought into being, not that everything was heard in Shabbat and Chagim, but a lot of the case, it was the case that it was heard then. It's amazing. Amazing sefer. The Rabbi Shita says it's a sefer of Emunah. It can be called as such, meaning like the book of Emunah. So there's a famous essay in there. The first one in our publication, Shechinta Begaluta, Shechin in Exile, which some also called Ein Od Milvado. And Ein Milvado touches on the two rishuses, the two domains, being the personal domain or the private domain, which is actually just the domain of the one and only, the Creator. In contrast to the public domain, Rishus Arabim, which is already the domain of two, meaning there's the Creator and there's me. And another essay in Shamati Munas Rabo, which is another very famous essay that was said by the Baal HaSulam to the Rebbe Zitzal, that it is a foundational essay that should be read every day. And it speaks there about having emunah. Faith is a Poor translation in my opinion, but we'll use it in the meantime. Faith in one's rabbi, and how it mirrors our faith in the Creator, and being able to have the power and the tools in our inner work to follow the correct path and essentially be in the middle line, which we've spoken about. And it also mentions in the essay V'Emunas Rabo the idea of the different domains, being Rishut Yachid, personal domain, the private domain, which is just Hashem, meaning there is only the Creator, and everything is from Him. In contrast to Harishut Rabim, the public domain, which is described there as being two desires. The desire of the Creator to give goodness to creation, and for us obviously to connect to that practically and believe that. And also the Rishut Rabim is saying there is that, and there's also my desires. But in regards to Eino Movado, that there's nothing but Him, that's the truth. There's only that going on. There's only the Creator, and everything is existing and manifesting from Him, within Him. There's a whole separate conversation as far as free will. How does that work out? But in our inner work, we are to believe and to feel as such. One moment. So the connection I made here is that one is referring to the absolute unity that is the Creator. In essence, the Creator and creation, because we're attempting to be one again with Him. And then two is saying there's a separation, there's a difference, there's an individuality. So revealing a handbreadth is to focus on the oneness, revealing a handbreadth, revealing one, meaning to center focus our inner work and our studies and our intention throughout our day on the dvekut, connecting with the Creator, which we describe here as being necessary. What's necessary is what will connect us to the Creator. What's unnecessary is anything but. So that's revealing a handbreadth, one, meaning Eino Movado. Concealing two is meaning to say, conceal two desires. There's the Creator and you. If such things come into your mind, if the challenge is, I have my own reshut, I have my own domain, if I experience this goodness in my life or this blessing, it's from my own accord, it's from my work, I earned it. That already instantly disconnects us from the Creator because He's the provider of all. It's not to say that we didn't deserve something by means of our hard work, but any manifestation and any experience that we merit and experience, it's from Him. So conceal two, meaning conceal it within one's mind and go back to revealing the one. If you think you have your own reshut, your own domain, conceal the matter, use it as a stepping stone, step above it, so to speak, and go back to revealing a handbreadth. But I could be wrong. Just my thought based on the title there. But let's continue. Those who study these pamphlets, the essays later published in Matan Torah as the translator, should know that my intention is to publish them in the course of this year. Because these essays were written in the 1930s, and the truth is that Matan Torah, as a collection of essays, was published either in the late 60s or early 70s, if I'm not mistaken, meaning it was compiled then, already sometime after the passing of the Baal HaSulam, and then put out. The intention was the pamphlet was to be like a proper, a proper Kabbalistic newspaper for the whole nation, for all of Israel to connect to and read freely, and to provide the average individual with these concepts so that the average person who had no interest in their roots and in Judaism could see the sweet depth that they were not exposed to prior in their own tradition. He continues, all of them are new, meaning his pamphlets and the ideas he brought in them, having not appeared as a whole or with such precise and authentic content in any book that preceded me. I received them directly as oral teachings from my master, who was authorized to do so. That is, who himself received them as oral tradition from his teachers, and so on. Know also that I received them with all the above mentioned conditions of concealing and guarding. However, because of the necessity that I discussed in my article, A Time to Act, which to reference speaks about the necessity of combating the inauthenticity of Kabbalistic writings and teachings from paths and strange vineyards that have nothing to do with Judaism at its core, and simply take the wisdom in order to profit from it and feed ego. The unnecessary has become necessary, he continues, and so I reveal this handbreadth with full permission, as I've explained above. Nonetheless, I will continue to guard the remaining 2 handbreadths as I was commanded. The Rebbe Shlita says, Baal HaSulam revealed his teachings as a response to the continued cheapening of the wisdom of Kabbalah due to the increase in books authored by those who know absolutely nothing about the holy Kabbalistic concepts. Kabbalah has been mixed with opinions based on defilement and self-love, and this has caused it to become viewed by the public as empty of content and lacking all substance. The Kabbalah is divine wisdom, and it was forbidden to permit these people to profane it. Therefore, Baal HaSulam was provoked to write his pamphlets in order to stop the activity of this defilement and to rescue God's honor from being profaned. We're now on page 52. Furthermore, we see from his words that he revealed his teachings because the unnecessary changed to necessary, and not because of permission from heaven that causes the impossible to become possible. However, it's clear to us that he did receive permission from heaven. For the whole character of his explication is not a man-made work, but divine light. Given that there was instances where he was writing, again, 18 plus hours a day, much of the time, understandably so, with carpal tunnel syndrome. Such great pain and still writing through, because he was doing it for his love of the Creator and humanity. And he had to do what he had to do despite the suffering. But I imagine the physical pains paled in comparison to the great light that he knew he was bringing to the world, based on the needs of the generation, as we've clarified. But it seems, based on the writings, that there was practically zero editing. He was so in tune, being at the highest level of spirituality, with the higher states of consciousness that we describe to be spiritual worlds, that he wrote from a clear perception of the processes and mechanisms and principles that go on in those higher states of consciousness. So he wrote and wrote and wrote straight from the upper worlds, upper states of consciousness, to the page. And we have merited to connect to those words and therefore connect to that consciousness and envelop our soul and clothe it with his, so to speak. But we can see clearly that it's truly a divine light. It is something beyond what we understand to be man's work. And it continues. The Rishita says, without divine light, it would not be possible to clarify what he clarified. So apparently he wrote as he did out of modesty, because he did not want to say explicitly that he received permission from heaven, and thus place himself at the same level of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the Arizal. But in another context, being Pri Chacham, the teachings of the Kabbalah and its essence, our rabbi writes explicitly the following, quote, I am glad that I have been born in such a generation, when it is permitted to disclose the wisdom of truth. Should you ask, how do I know that it is permitted? I will reply to you that I have been given permission to disclose it. Until now, the ways by which it is possible to publicly teach and to fully explain each word has not been revealed to any sage. I too swore to my teacher not to disclose things, as did all the students before me. However, this oath and this prohibition apply only to those matters that are given orally, from generation to generation, back to the prophets and before. Had these ways been revealed to the public, they would cause such harm. They would cause much harm for reasons that are hidden from us. By contrast, the way that I employ in my books is certainly a permitted way, and I've been instructed by my teacher to expand on it as much as I can. We call it, quote, the way of enclothing things. Check the writings of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai to see that he calls this giving permission. And this is what the Creator has given me to a complete extent. It is accepted generally that the giving of permission is dependent not on the greatness of the sage, but on the state of the generation. This is why I said that my being rewarded with the manner of disclosing the wisdom is because of my generation. End of quote from Baal HaSulam. When he says here, this is what the Creator has given me to a complete extent, one can say that offhandedly, meaning, yes, the Creator gave me everything. The Creator gave me to the greatest extent. But that's also hinting not that he desired for such a thing to be revealed, seemingly not. I think it was meant to be burned among other teachings, as many great spiritual masters ordered their students to burn much of their works before they moved on to a state of consciousness beyond the body and left this world. But this diary entry of his personal prophetic vision and his interaction and dialogue with the Creator is published. It's in the Hebrew book written by the Rebbe Shita called HaSulam, and it's also in the translation called Master of the Ladder, as translated by Yehudah Cohen. Amazing, powerful, and challenging, because the interaction is revolutionary in itself and painting the picture of what we're learning here, what it means, how it's connected to the big picture of literally, slowly but surely, but may it be speedily and soon, bringing the redemption. First and foremost, within every individual, at an individual level, and therefore on a communal level, on a global level. To continue, the subject of permission from heaven divides into two opposite matters. A, from an external point of view, Baal HaSulam received the ability to explain things in a way that would give each person a connection so that it could affect a change in him or her. Thus, the meaning of permission from heaven is the teacher's ability to reveal things. And B, the perception of the inner meanings of things is dependent on the individual's progress in A, strengthening his or her faith, his emunah, and B, restricting the desire to receive and increasing the desire to give. This also is part of the concept of permission from heaven. but from the opposite direction, meaning the student's ability to hear. That is, the teacher was given permission to hint in coded language that can be decoded only by one who really lives by these teachings, which is hinting to the dynamic of the greatest secrets of the Torah that was said to be taught to students by means of headers and titles. And the teacher and the master would never go so deep and actually learn the content inside directly with the student, but if the student was worthy based on his desire, his vessels, and of course, as we see here, a permission from heaven itself to be able to dig in and reveal the secrets just by means of the surface level headers and titles that the master would portray to the student. And if he could decipher through these means, then surely he was worthy. He was given permission and chosen to be a vessel for such wisdom. Tov, that's the end of the essay. And practically in terms of the 4 essays that are in giving, we're done. This is the last of it. It would be nice to do another one. I'd like to do the questions for review that we have here at the end, these 8 questions. Save that for another time. And then I think it would be great to also go into the essays that were translated as well into English from the Rebbe Shlita that are in the back here. I believe there's 10 essays translated into English, which are all amazing in their own right. Yes, 10 essays. Great, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Till next time, all the best.